Formula One on 5 Live.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Silverstone, where the stage is set for one of the biggest qualifying sessions of the season. The British Grand Prix always delivers an incredible atmosphere, and with over 500,000 people expected across the weekend, the drivers have everything to play for. As our attention turns to the battle for pole position, every lap will count, every thousandth of a second could make the difference. I think we're set for a fascinating hour of high-speed drama, and guiding you through it all from the commentary boxes, myself, Harry Benjamin. Down patrolling the pit lane and paddock for us is Rosanna Tennant. Afternoon, Rosanna.
Oh, very good afternoon to you, Harry. What an afternoon we're having. It is beautiful out here, lovely and sunny, real British summer weather. A few clouds here and there, but incredibly blustery. So those braking points may well have changed since the sprint race earlier on today for the drivers. So another challenge on the horizon for them. But let me tell you, every which way I look, I can see fans in the grandstands lining the track, up on the hill above the paddock as well. So many different places to watch around this incredible circuit. Everyone's pumped up for this next hour.
It certainly is. 3.6 miles, just over that, 5.891 kilometres, 18 turns, 8 to the left and 10 to the right. It is the fifth longest track. One man who has mastered it before is alongside me, the 1996 F1 World Champion, Damon Hill. And Damon, well, in sprint qualifying yesterday, it was Lewis Hamilton on top. Can he repeat the feat this afternoon?
Well, we're going to find out, Harry, aren't we? And as far as me mastering the circuit, I have to say we changed it a little bit since I was racing. And I could be held responsible partly for that because I was involved with the redevelopment of Silverstone, but doesn't it look magnificent? We're actually looking at some aerial photographs of the Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire countryside. We split across the boundary of the two counties, so please don't fight over Silverstone, but we try to get them to cooperate. But it is an amazing sight. The number of people here, we think it's about over 500,000 people over the weekend, and we're also watching shots now of the Lando stand. Should that be the Lando Stando? But anyway, it is the Lando stand, and it is all for Lando Norris. But of course there's a huge contingent of people here for Lewis Hamilton, who has won this Grand Prix 9 times.
Yeah, he absolutely has. And the roar from grandstands around this circuit yesterday when he put it on sprint pole were immeasurable. And I think he'll be through the roof if he can do it again. But of course, we have a plethora of British drivers in the field. Lewis Hamilton, just one of them. George Russell hasn't looked as strong as his teammate, though, so far, Kimi Antonelli, this weekend.
No, there's something missing there in the equation for George. He's not seemingly able to reproduce. But of course, he is Mr. Saturday, and today is Saturday, so we don't know. He could bounce back.
Had a fantastic pole position last time out, which he snuck at the close of qualifying with all the yellow flag drama for Max Verstappen in Austria. Followed that up with a much needed victory for George Russell. The sprint race did not quite going his way either. And you mentioned the Lando stand, that's on the outside of Stowe, turn 15, the right-hander. It's actually been increased in terms of capacity for this year, such is his fan base. And Lando Norris actually managed to get inside the top 3 for the sprint race earlier on, but he wasn't that happy at the end of the race with that. He wasn't too pleased with the way the team went about their management and communication over fuel and managing the lift and coast throughout the course of the sprint race. So a few communication issues to iron out there down at McLaren.
Yeah, he's always pushing for more, and he's pushing the team for more. But I know that that everybody has got a weak spot. You know, trying to stay on top of running these cars at their optimum throughout every session and every lap of a race, whether it's the sprint or the Grand Prix, is massive. It's a massive task. There's so much information that is critical. And the drivers, of course, are on the receiving end when they press a button and it doesn't work the way they want it to. When they go for that extra bit of battery deployment and there's nothing left, you know, then they are, naturally you can understand them being disappointed, especially if they've just overtaken someone as well.
Certainly, but it's time to reset after that. They've had a few hours to debrief and gear up for qualifying, which is just under 30 seconds away. And Damon, you mentioned, you know, you had a hand in how this track has come about, the current iteration of it. That was when you were chairman of the BRDC. Why is this circuit so special? Why do we rave about Silverstone so much?
Well, it's got a history. It was the first ever Formula One Grand Prix, 1950, and so that is that's important. It's been on the calendar. It has moved from one place to the next. So we did have Grand Prix at Brands Hatch and also Aintree. But this is the venue now that can host the Grand Prix and provide everything that's needed, because the demand for Formula 1 has gone through the roof. So we need to be able to cater for the fans and also the corporate guests and all the sponsors and partners for the teams. It's a huge business, but the circuit itself is fast. It always has been, even though it keeps changing. It's a fast sweeping circuit with quite high grip, and we have to use the hardest tyres in the Pirelli range to be able to withstand the loads that go through the cars on this circuit.
Well, you can hear the cars heading out of the pit lane now onto the track, and we can introduce the BBC's F1 correspondent into this qualifying session, Andrew Benson.
Yeah, I was just listening to Damon just there. I remember, Damon, when you unveiled this new layout, you were worried that you'd ruin the track, weren't you? And yet, actually, I think it's probably the best track for racing now on the entire calendar.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a battle, as you can expect, with the BRDC and designers and God knows what. So I was fighting for one thing and someone else was fighting for someone else. But we've got what we've got here now, and for better or worse, it's still a great track, and it still provides some exciting racing and overtaking opportunities. But I will say this, that when we redesigned the circuit, we didn't have a Formula 1 Grand Prix contract, so we had to design it for the motorcycle Grand Prix, because that was the only contract we had, and they don't like particular types of corners. So a lot of the corners they're opening radius corners, particularly the Village corner going onto the Wellington Straight. The motorcyclists said we don't want closing radius corners and various types of hairpin bends. So that's why it is the shape it is. It's designed for motorcycle racing.
And yet it's created a layout where, even before this yo-yo racing that we called it this year, it's produced some great races as a consequence of that layout, and still some great corners for cars as well.
Completely. I mean, we're watching an onboard of Carlos Sainz going through Copse Corner. Copse Corner, we've got a radio message from...
It's Bortoleto, I think, just saying it's very, very gusty on the start-finish straight as Albon runs deep down through the first section of the lap, just coming through Village, and now making his way onto Aintree, onto the Wellington Straight.
The wind is a feature of Silverstone. It's up on a high plateau, I think, and it's exposed to the wind, of course. Perfect if you're flying an aeroplane and you're taking off into the wind, but not so good if you're trying to race round in a circle around the racetrack.
Yeah, and it can really upset the car, as we can hear them out on track now, just gearing up for their first flying laps. As we get into it, before that, we will bring you up to speed with how the championship lies. And after bagging 8 points earlier on today, Kimi Antonelli extends his gap at the top of the championship, now 43 points ahead of George Russell. Lewis Hamilton sits third, just a couple of points behind Russell, with Norris and Charles Leclerc rounding out the top five. Oscar Piastri is sixth, ahead of Max Verstappen. Over in the teams, Mercedes lead the way, 100 points clear of their nearest rival, Ferrari. Then come McLaren, Red Bull and Alpine, the top five, with a tight battle in the midfield as always. Racing Bulls sixth, ahead of Haas. Williams in eighth and Audi ninth. Aston Martin just with 1 point on the board, down in 10th, yet to get off the mark so far. The newest team to Formula 1, Cadillac, with their drivers Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas. But we are underway here for Q1 with just over 14 minutes remaining of the session. We'll eliminate the slowest six drivers. Oliver Bearman has had a tough run of things so far in the Haas, but he crosses the line and it's the first time on the board, and it's a 1:31.315, quicker than his teammate Esteban Ocon, with the Cadillac of Perez, Sainz and Stroll following suit. Charles Leclerc saying he's got massive vibrations on his car, and wanting those to get ironed out as his teammate is through the first sector. 6/10 up on Bearman already, and this is the sound of the 9-time winner around this track as he makes his way through the right-hander of Luffield, on the throttle now, through the right-hand kink of Woodcock, getting up to top speed here, and ultimately wanting flat out through Copse, just lifts slightly, runs out wide on the exit, takes the rumble strip, propels him up and over the crest as he now heads into the fast flicks, left then right, Maggots, Beckett's left again, then a long right-hander as you wait for the left-hand kink of Chapel to lift you out onto the Hangar Straight, and he's already well up on Oliver Bearman's time, just to go as the next corner. The long sweeping right-hander hugs the inside apex. That feeds him out onto the outside and the left-hand side of the track. He brings it across to the right into the braking zone of turn number 16. Vale left, then a double right-hander sees off the lap as you come through Club and across the line for Lewis Hamilton, and actually ends up a 10th down on his teammate. Charles Leclerc's gone to the top, a 1:29.5. Hamilton, a 1:29.6.
Yeah, that looked all fairly straightforward, didn't it? I mean, he's slower, but this is not going to be the critical session for the guys at the sharp end, Lewis Hamilton, the Ferrari and Charles Leclerc. You know, they just want to get a time on the board so they don't get caught out by some unforeseen pressure by not putting a time up. They've done that, so they're probably quite safe there where they are at the moment.
Lando Norris, everybody out there at the moment, with the exception of Nico Hülkenberg and Bortoletto, who's now come back into the pits, went out onto the medium tyre. Everyone else on the soft tyre, the quicker of the rubber, as Damon was saying earlier. Pirelli bringing the hardest tyres in the range, the C1 hard, the C2 medium and the C3 soft. Commonly expect to see that left front start to wear away a little earlier, while we might expect a one-stop race for Sunday's Grand Prix. But given the chaos we saw earlier in the sprint race, with this return of yo-yo racing exposed here at this track with the energy management requirements, I think we're all stepping into a bit of the unknown.
Definitely. I think it really is very difficult. I keep getting asked, you know, when I go and do these talks for the guests, and they say, you know, what's going to happen? I mean, I think the weight is on Kimi Antonelli, who has the form, and the Mercedes looked quick in the sprint. They looked able to stay at the front, but you just can't tell with this formula because the battery deployment and the tyre usage, you know, and if you're going to go for one stop, then you really have to get into tyre management as well. And so there's a lot could happen in a longer race.
It certainly can, as Lando Norris comes across the line, third fastest for the McLaren, over half a second adrift of the Ferraris. Max Verstappen next across the line for Red Bull. Again, nearly 0.7 of a second down in fourth. Isaac Hadjar will be next across the line. Was only less than 0.2 away from his teammate in sprint qualifying yesterday, but that was enough to see 4 cars between them. We've got a yellow flag out on track, and I'm wondering if it's George Russell who has stopped out on the circuit. I think he's at Luffield. Yellow flag still out on track. Is there an issue for George Russell? There is, and he's currently, looks like he's found a bit of gravel, and he's right rested up against the wall. It is at Luffield in turn 7. Has he hit the wall? Not quite sure. We're seeing picture-in-picture here, but Russell is trying to wrestle his Mercedes and what remains of those soft tyres, which will absolutely go to waste now. He's making his way through the gravel now and returning to the track, and he will look like he'll get back to the pit lane as we get a closer look at George Russell, and we'll see, hopefully in a few moments' time, what happened to him. But that is not the start you need to qualifying for the man who sits second in the Drivers' Championship.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. It's the worst case scenario. He hasn't put a time up, and we don't know what happened, but he's returning. He's got a broken front wing for sure. And as you say, Harry, the tyres are going to be rooted, but we're going to watch a replay now as he's coming down towards Luffield, past the BRDC on the right, into the first part of it. On the gas, everything looks fine until he's just locked up going into that. That's not even a big stop, but he's hardly hit anything with suspension, which is good news. But I think he's done the front wing, so he might be able to recover. Yeah, just deep in on the brakes, tried to get the thing to turn, locked up the right front and run out of road.
That's a curious incident.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever seen an incident like that at Luffield. I've been watching Formula 1 cars here for a very long time, and that's one of the strangest crashes. Well, just about a crash. He's sort of nosed into the barrier at about 5 miles an hour, broken his front wing off. That's got 2 issues for Russell now. So obviously they've got to repair the car. That shouldn't be too problematic, but he's used up a set of tyres. And that doesn't sound hugely significant, but what it means is that he now has fewer sets of tyres than he would ideally need, because the top drivers like to go through these first 2 sessions of qualifying using just 1 set of tyres. So it could compromise him when it comes to it in the final session.
it certainly could compromise him, but quite honestly, right now, all he has to do is get back to the garage, get a new front wing, get them to check over the car and get out there and put a time on the board, because it won't matter whether he's got more tyres than he needs or less tyres than he needs if he doesn't get through this session.
That clunk you may have heard a few moments ago was the sound of Valtteri Bottas's Cadillac absolutely clattering the apex on the inside of the left-hander at Vale as he comes across the line for his first timed lap. Just under 8 minutes remaining. Leclerc and Hamilton top the times. Antonelli is third, just a tenth and a half away from the Ferraris. Antonelli is third ahead of Lindblad, then Norris fifth, Verstappen, Hadjar, Piastri, Albon and Behrman the top 10, Gasly, Colapinto the top 12. Hulkenberg is about to come across the line now. Let's see where this puts the Audi driver, having been out there on the medium tyre initially and now putting on the soft, puts it up into fifth fastest. Esteban Ocon now up into 11th ahead of Behrman. Gasly, Colapinto, Bottas are the current top 16, those at risk: Perez, Lawson, Alonso, Stroll, Russell with no time on the board. He's made it back to the pits, and the same for Gabriel Bortoleto. I wonder if there's an issue for the Audi driver who did one lap out there and has now come back to the pits and has yet to be seen again. So potentially some issues, certainly for George Russell, as they fix the front wing and try and check for perhaps any kind of cause for that bizarre incident down at the right-hander at Luffield. He's back in the pits, and it might be a little race against time to get George Russell out and up to speed enough to get through for Q2.
Yeah, I honestly think he'll be all right. I think that they already putting the new front wing on. I don't think he really touched the suspension. So, but even so, the pressure will be on George, as he's actually got his sights on the World Championship. But now all he has to do is set his sights on getting through into Q2, because that's the big drama. He's got a hell of a task to catch up with the leaders if he doesn't get out of this group.
Liam Lawson is about to come across the line for Racing Bulls. Managed to nick a point earlier in the sprint for 8th place. Pops it up into 5th, actually behind his teammate Arvid Lindblad. On debut is Lindblad here. His first home Grand Prix for the British rookie. But Liam Lawson's off the back of 3 consecutive top 10 starts. And both Racing Bulls once again looking incredibly strong in the mid-pack. Certainly at the head of it and challenging the top 4 teams. Meanwhile, George Russell is back out on track now, weaving left, weaving right. We're going to get another look at it. He comes through the left-hander of Brooklands and it swings back through the right-hander of Luffield. And as you would expect the car to just turn right, front right locks up, he heads through the gravel, slams hard on the brakes and nudges the wall.
Yeah, that was very weird. I've never locked up there in my whole career.
There he goes, agreeing with you, Harry. It is unusual. I've never seen anyone go off there at all. It's not like it's a big braking zone, but nevertheless, that's what happened. And, it just shows you can get caught out by the strangest thing. And I'm trying to work out with the wind direction, because I think that where he was going into Luffield, actually he's heading into the wind. If it was a tailwind, then I could understand it. I'm trying to get my bearings.
It looks like a tailwind to me, Damon, on the graphic here. You can see it's blowing in from the northeast. So that is actually almost directly behind the car as you turn in to that long 180 right-hander. So that might make sense. Maybe he's been caught out by a big gust of wind. Sounds trivial, but in a Formula 1 car it can be very significant.
Well, Russell back out on track now and about to begin a flying lap. So let's talk you through it then for the man who put it on pole back in 2024. Right now, just looking to set a lap time to see him go through into Q2. Carves his way through the left-hander of Farm, onto the brakes, down through the right-hander of Village. Gets the car back up to the right-hand side of the track. Chucks it in through the left-hander. Loops his way round the exit of Aintree. Little snap on the front end, trying to carry the speed. Now, heads down to the Wellington straight. The front and rear wing both open for straight-line moat. They slam shut on the brakes as he heads through the left-hander of Brooklands. Now tackles Luffield. This is where he went off on his first lap. Manages to hold it through as he swings it back round. He's a little down on time though compared to Colapinto, just to get into the top 16.
I was going to say, this is not a good lap. He's not even on course to beat an Alpine at the moment, the slowest Alpine at the moment. I'm sure surely he'll make it up over the rest of the lap, but not encouraging at all. Something very odd's going on here with George Russell.
Through the left, then the right, then left again. Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. The fantastic sequence of corners that every Formula One driver loves, and he's made up a huge chunk of time in the middle sector. He's almost 7/10 up now on Colapinto. That's more like it. That's what you would expect to see from the Mercedes versus the Alpine. Round the right-hander of Stowe, gets the car back across to the right-hand side of the track, onto the brakes, clips the inside apex of Vale, through the right-hander of 17, lets the car run out wide, then closes up against the apex and across the line for Russell, and it's P5 for the Brit. 4.5 tenths adrift of Charles Leclerc and Ferrari's benchmark lap time in Q1.
Yeah, he'll be breathing a massive sigh of relief there. That was a bit of extra drama he could have done without.
Certainly was. He's got a lap time on the board now, but he is immediately displaced by Oscar Piastri, who puts his McLaren up into 5th. It's just over 2.5 minutes left of Q1. This is the fight to get out of that elimination zone. The slowest 6 drivers will be eliminated. Through and safe right now, Leclerc and Hamilton sitting pretty in the pit lane, P1 and 2, Antonelli 3rd, Lindblad 4th, Piastri the top 5, then comes Russell, Lawson, Hulkenberg, Norris and Verstappen the top 10, Verstappen out on another lap, Hadjar 2 as well, Albon's 12th, Ocon, Behrman, Sainz and Gasly the top 16, with Colapinto, Perez, Bottas, Alonso, Stroll and Bortoleto yet to get a lap on the board, leaving himself with one flying lap as the Audi driver to try and join his teammate, who right now is through and up into Q2. Isaac Hadjar, quickest of anybody through the middle sector. It's actually Arvid Lindblad who has the fastest first sector of anybody, but Max Verstappen seals off the lap first and puts that Red Bull up into P2. Let's see what his French teammate has got. Hadjar goes to the top of the times by over 2.5 tenths of a second. Bit of track evolution, new tyres as well, and coming good for the Red Bull drivers. But Hadjar ahead of Verstappen, which is what Red Bull are encouraged to see, with a strong teammate alongside the Dutchman.
We're on board with Gasly. He's currently 16th, but he's on a much better lap. This is his personal best for the first sector. He's looking good through the Beckett section, and we'll be interested to see what sort of time he can deliver. He's virtually there now. He just has the hanger straight and a few more corners. We got a yellow flag out. We'll have to. This could be drama for the guys who are on the bubble.
The yellow flag is out, and I think it might be for Franco Colapinto coming through Maggotts and Beckett. It's come back in again quite quickly, so it might not have scuppered anyone's lap time. Behrman's just coming through that section now. It was Colapinto who was off track down at Chapel. Gasly comes across the line. He does improve overall, gets himself up into 12th behind Norris. Norris is out on a lap, had a good first sector. Don't think he'll get caught up in that yellow flag, which has now gone away. But Colapinto, Perez, Bottas, Alonso, Stroll and Bortoleto all at risk here of elimination. You'd expect the Aston Martins, you'd expect the Cadillacs down there. The Audi of Bortoleto, though, leaving himself with one final flyer to join his teammate right now, who's up in 10th spot. Bottas comes across the line. Good qualifying from Valtteri Bottas to get 17th spot with just 15 seconds on the clock remaining.
And Harry Norris has made a mistake in the middle of his lap. He's had to abort. He's only, what is he now? He's 11th. He should be all right, but he's going to have to. Has he got time to go again on this run? He hasn't, has he?
No. Norris is done, and I don't think he'll need another lap. And we'll watch it because people are improving. The two Williams drivers going again. Sainz down in 16th. Albon takes the line first, does improve, stays down in 14th. Franco Colapinto's out of this one. He's back in the pit lane. Only Gabi Bortoleto is really finding a huge chunk of time out there in the Audi that might impact anything, but Norris has taken the checker flag. He'll be safe and through. Liam Lawson's going to come to the line next for the Kiwi. Fastest of anybody through the first sector. What have they given the Racing Bulls drivers this year? Lawson second, Lindblad 6th right now. Hulkenberg's found pace with the Audi, pops himself up into 4th. Tell you what though, Fernando Alonso's had a pretty neat and tidy lap in the Aston Martin. Round the final corner, he lost a huge chunk of time though in the final sector, 21st, as we wait for Bortoleto to come across the line. He only needed one lap and it sees him through up into 12th, but clearly some issues going on for Audi on that side of the garage as Perez gets out qualified by his teammate Valtteri Bottas, and that doesn't happen very often. In fact, that's only the third time Bottas has been able to do it this season, as Perez will line up in 20th, and that is the end of Q1. Ocon falls by the wayside, along with Bottas, Colapinto, Perez, Stroll and Alonso.
Yeah, it's the usual weaker teams, you have to say, are going to fill this the bottom grid places, but it's still a bit tense there, and good to see. We're going to find out what happened to Colapinto in a second, because I think something must have happened with that replay. He did actually, he had a proper spin, and that's what the yellow flag was for. He went straight across the grass going into the Beckett section. We're watching the replay on board now as he suddenly swaps ends right in the middle of Beckett's, gets a bit bouncing around and goes across the grass and doesn't hit anything. Fortunately for him, he managed to get the car back, but he will be...
Completely lost the wheel.
There's nothing obvious standing out at the moment. There's a bit of a wind change, but it's not huge.
Colapinto there saying that he lost the rear quite dramatically. The team saying, well, not much they conceive on the data is the cause for that, but ruining Colapinto's chance of making it through and joining his teammate into Q2. In fact, for Colapinto, he's out-qualified Gasly in 3 of the last 5 races, but he won't be able to continue that trend as he bows out of the first part of qualifying. Tell you what, though, once again, Esteban Ocon in the Haas struggling, Damon, compared relative to his teammate. Haas overall not where they want to be, but as the rumours continue to swirl around Ocon's future, being knocked out in Q1, not going to do him any favours.
Yeah, this is where it gets a bit difficult for drivers who are on the bubble. Let's say, when people start talking about who might move out of a team, might be replaced by a fresher, more hopeful, ambitious driver, and possibly cheaper. This is difficult for drivers when they feel that they are fighting for their survival. There's 2 responses. One is they go down, and the other is they fight back. But Ocon has got he has got a bit of a fight in his hands, I think, there, because Ollie Behrman is clearly a super talent who has got a future, and Ferrari, I think, have got their eyes on him for the future in case something else happens at their end.
Bit of a delay before we get Q2 started, and some work going on down to the front end of Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes. Just having a bit of an inspection, the front right there, with the mechanics having a bit of work done. The sweepers are out on track after Colapinto's ride across the grass and the gravel to just clear the Magnussen Beckett section up a little bit. Really strong lap times at the end of that session for the likes of the Red Bulls and the Racing Bulls. Damon Hadjar strong, along with Liam Lawson, and 2 a bit further in the midfield. Nico Hulkenberg finished Q1 in 4th. Of course, it's early stages in Q1. You don't always see the big guns pushing as hard at this stage of the game, but for the likes of Audi battling in that midfield, they want to be right there with Racing Bulls.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, but I do think this first session is quite misleading with regard to the sharp end, because the teams that are desperate to get through, they try everything they've got, and they do put in some good laps, and then very suddenly those lap times don't look so competitive when we get to the Q2 and Q3.
As Isaac Hadjar sits in the cockpit of his Red Bull, the 21-year-old Parisian who is on a run of 13 consecutive Q3s in his Formula One career, looking to make it 14 this weekend. Sitting on the opposite side is his teammate Max Verstappen, no stranger to pole position here at the British Grand Prix, a 3-time pole sitter for the Dutchman. And in terms of British talent, well, scattered up and down the field, with the likes of course, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell, Lando Norris, but those up-and-comers as well. Oliver Behrman in the midfield for Haas. Arvid Lindblad in his rookie season at Racing Bulls. And we'll count him as well, the London-born Thai, Alex Albon for Williams.
I think we can also say that Lewis is also part Brazilian as well, because he's got Brazilian honorary citizenship, I think he has, thanks to his devotion to Ayrton Senna and all his performances and his work off the track. So quite a few of the drivers in here have got more than one nationality going from.
What have you made of we'll talk of more than one nationality, Arvid Lindblad, because he's got British Indian heritage and Swedish heritage as well. What have you made of his rookie season so far?
I think it's been stunning. I think it's been amazing. He's really can't hit the ground. He seems very confident. That's the thing I like about Arvid. He's not overawed. I think back to when I was driving and I turned up and I did revere the people I was competing against, and perhaps that was I don't get the sense that Arvid is putting those people on a pedestal. I think he sees himself as equal to everyone in Formula One, and clearly maybe part of his brain thinks he's better than everyone.
Well, I suppose you kind of have to have that as a Formula One driver. We're going to have another look at Franco Colapinto. Is this just carrying too much speed and losing the back end?
You know, it would definitely look like it suddenly went onto the nose when he went to the left-hander part of the Beckett section, and the rear just wasn't there to grip. And if you've got the tailwind, that would fit with the tailwind direction that we were talking about earlier with George Russell. If it's coming from that direction, then the rear wing loses a bit of downward force and the rear of the car loses a bit of grip, and it just flipped around on it. And the wind is gusty here. I've been posing for photographs, and ladies with long hair struggling to keep their hair in place.
I know Andrew Benson has the same issue out there in the wind.
So, but you know, it's gusty out there for sure.
My hat falls off, Harry, I can tell you that.
I know, exactly, that's what I mean.
There's also some people on stilts I noticed in the paddock. I think they are taking they're taking their lives in their hands. You don't want a gust of wind when you're on a pair of stilts.
I've seen about 6 people on stilts. I don't know why that is happening.
No, what are they here celebrating or campaigning for? I don't know.
It encompasses, though, the sort of atmosphere. Silverstone gets bigger somehow.
Was a juggler as well?
Year.
Do you see the juggler?
I've not seen the juggler.
Yeah, there's a bloke walking down the pits with juggling those batons, you know, just minding his own business.
I tell you what, as we wait for Q2 to start, now might be a good time to talk about our hot lap, Damon, that I surprised you with.
You did
on Thursday.
Yeah, I was told there's a very nervous passenger about to get in the car, and I think she even said it was a girl getting in the car. But anyway, imagine my surprise when you turned up.
I fed her the line to try and get your surprise as I popped my head in.
Yeah, and you were nervous, though.
Not at all.
No, not at all. Okay, well, you claim you weren't nervous, but you looked at it when I was driving round.
Well, I feel like I was your final lap, wasn't I? So I felt like you'd got the lay of the land. You knew where you were going. You knew left, you knew right.
It was like Q3, wasn't it? And there's nothing left on the table.
No, but at one point you had your hands off the steering wheel. You were screaming for dear life.
Very bad example.
How hard did you try? 10 tenths?
Oh, I wasn't trying that hard.
7 tenths? Were you trying to scare it?
No, we got overtaken by a McLaren, though.
Yeah,
Stroll.
Gasly noted.
I'm not trying to advertise the McLaren, but it's well known in Formula One circles that the McLaren, of all the cars on the hot laps, the McLaren is on a whole other performance level.
We were a Mercedes, weren't we? Yes, we were.
We were in an AMG Mercedes. Apart from that, I don't know what it was. In fact,
I think it's an AMG GT, isn't it?
I didn't even know how to put it. I started doing these hot laps that no one had told me how to even put it in gear, so I spent most of the time trying to work out how to get things to go.
You know what the funniest thing was? I told, because thank you to Williams who organised it, I told Williams, don't tell Damon it's me doing it. And as we were walking out onto the grid, we were trying to see if you were already by the car. We couldn't see. Where's Damon? Can't let Damon see me. Can't let Damon see me. Said your name about 3 times, quite clearly out loud. And then I looked past me, and you've just walked right past me, completely ignored me. And I go, oh my God, has he seen me? No, I think we got away with it. And then every time you came in to pick up another passenger, I tried to sort of hide and turn and face the wall.
Well, you tricked me nicely there.
And if you want to see the hot lap, I believe it's up on your Instagram, isn't it, Damon?
It is. I'm not sure if we jumped the gun there, but I think the BBC maybe wanted... No,
you beat us to it.
It's on my Instagram, mate.
You're a bit of a social media fiend these days, Damon.
You know, people like to know what we're up to.
I know.
How sideways did he get it?
Oh, fair amount of sideways. There was drift action. There was smoke coming off the rear tyres. I think at one point I think you broke later than you needed to. I think it was coming down into Luffield.
I'll be the judge of that.
No, into Brooklands. you were breaking late into Brooklands.
If you want to see it, it's on 96 F1 Champ on Instagram.
There you go.
There you go. And you can judge for yourself how much sideways there was and how intimidated or scared Harry was.
And whether you braked too late for Brooklands.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I didn't manage to do a full George Russell there, but I was trying to lose it, but I don't know. There's something instinctive in me that keeps it on the road.
Yellow flag infringement investigation after the session for Esteban Ocon has just popped up as you're hearing the sounds of a replay of Ocon as he was making his way through Maggots Beckett's and Chapel. That was where Colapinto was recovering. So that will be investigated after the session if he lifted off enough. We'll get into the single yellow, double yellow debate later when we get a closer look at that. But Colapinto was pretty obviously off the track there near Ocon. And we're going to get a Q3 start time now. Q2 start time, apologies, in about 3.5 minutes.
That was the longer.
16:33.
Was that because they had to clear the track?
Yeah, they were sweeping, I think.
Andrew, what was pole for the sprint qualifying?
I can't remember.
Oh, that's no good.
I'd have to look it up.
Yes.
Okay. Would you like me to do that?
Well, currently, Hadjar is the quickest in this session as a 29.2. What will pole position be, do you think? What was the quickest time yesterday?
Sprint qualifying pole was 1 minute 28.376.
Yeah.
So I'm going for pole. Well, it's windier, isn't it? So it's a tricky one. But it's going to get into the mid 28.5. How about that?
You think it's going to be slower than yesterday?
Well, they're a second off. I mean, Hadjar's time. Oh, but that's only Hadjar, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're right, 27.9.
You think 27.9? Yeah, I think you're about right. So.
But I want to know: was that your first ever hot lap, Harry?
No. No is the short answer. I did one with Sam Bird last year.
Who was better?
It's not about
Damon, obviously. Damon. Sorry, Sam. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah.
They both had different driving experiences with both.
Oh yeah.
Well, Sam was a lot. I think Sam was more serious and was really putting in a good lap.
Yeah.
Damon was searching for the entertainment factor.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah.
And I found it with Harry
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Find it.
Yeah.
Harry and Hill on a lap round Silverstone.
Yeah. And so with a bit of time, there's a bit of filling in, and the fans are doing the Lando Mexican wave.
Yes, they've been getting quite good at that across the course of the weekend at the Lando stand. Indeed, expecting over 500,000 people here across the weekend. Silverstone does get bigger every year somehow, and more fan zones, more general admission, more corporate hospitality.
I have to say there's more grumblings about the traffic this year as well than there have been for a while.
You try and get 500,000 people into a small space, and
Well, for a while, for quite a few years, they kept the numbers under control because of exactly that problem. But they seem to have decided to go the other way.
A little bit of a victim of its own success, Silverstone there. We do need to do a little bit of work with getting the traffic flow working a bit better.
I don't want to moan because obviously we're all very privileged to be here. But one thing people do point out is there's only one road in and out of the Red Bull Ring as well, but there's not any traffic problems there. So if they can manage it, why can't Silverstone? I think is the question that's sort of bubbling around the Formula 1 paddock at the moment.
Well, we were on the way in this morning and stuck in a little bit of traffic. It was not too bad. And then suddenly we saw a wild Damon Hill cycling his way down the road towards the paddock.
Yeah. I have been contemplating ways of being here on Sunday without having a car parked on the infield, I have to say, this weekend. I don't know what they are yet. But
well, I look forward to discovering what you do, Andrew.
Yes.
For more of Andrew Benson's parking scenarios, you can listen and find them on the BBC Sport website, I'm sure.
I've been on hot laps around the Nordschleife, you know.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, with who?
I went round with Gilles de Ferran, 5 up in a Volvo estate.
Excellent.
And then I went round properly with Bernd Schneider and Jan Magnussen in AMG Mercedes.
Wow.
This
was for research purposes, obviously.
No, it was a media day put on by Mercedes, but that was special.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Nordschleife, one of the most legendary tracks in the world. If you listen to that, you're hearing cars fire up and head back onto track. We can stop talking about our various hot laps now as we can look at some of the hot laps that the F1 drivers can put in, because Q2 is underway with 14.5 minutes just over that remaining as we look to lose the slowest 6 drivers again in the battle to get yourself inside the top 10.
Watching Isaac Hadjar, who is actually the only car on the track at the moment. We've got Verstappen.
Him and Verstappen.
Well. Yeah, but they've done something to their side pods on this Red Bull that's quite interesting. I'll have a look at it on the grid before the sprint race, and it's almost as if there's no radiator intake on that car. They've done something very different. They've gone a different route aerodynamically, and they started that in Austria. They've got it here for Silverstone. I don't know if it's working, but anyway, it does look different to all the other cars.
Yeah, brought some upgrades last time out in Austria, didn't they? Not a huge amount of upgrades being brought this weekend. Red Bull also doing some work to their rear corner. Ferrari the same. Williams with a new front wing. Racing Bulls with some bits too.
Yeah, this engine is not responding normal.
Max Verstappen saying his engine is not responding normal. This is the sound of it. And he's going to stay out. He's just made his way through Stowe, down through the gears, into the left-hander of Vale. The Red Bull powertrain in collaboration with Ford in the back of that car as he heads down the start-finish straight now and through the flat-out right-hander of Abbey. It then curves left through Farm, where the pit lane feeds out. Always tricky to navigate a car coming out there. Then you hit the brakes through the right-hander of Village. You then head left out of turn 4. That's Loop that spits you out through the left-hander of Aintree, down the Wellington straight. The front and the rear wing both open for straight line mode. Extra speed allowed in a straight line before they slam shut under braking. Carves his way once again through the left-hander of Brooklands, arcs his way around Luffield, and then feathers the throttle before he can put full beans out through Woodcote into the short straight that leads you to the fast right-hander of Cox. Bit of traffic ahead of him, should get out of the way as he heads to a slightly blind uphill crest that then pitches you perfectly downhill into the fast sweepers of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Right, left again onto the Hangar Straight for Max Verstappen. Isaac Hadjar coming through the first sector now, not able to match his teammate out there. Verstappen through the right-hander of Stowe we go, and Hadjar quicker through the middle sector on these opening laps, down into the braking zone of Vale. A lot of the cars taking a fair amount of curb there on the apex, and the same too for the final corner out of Vale, out of Club and across the line for Verstappen, and his opening lap time is a 1:29.308.
This was both Red Bulls went out on used soft tyres, so these are not the optimum laps that they'll be able to do. They're obviously saving a set for later, but
looks like the two Ferraris out on new soft tyres.
Okay.
As Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton embark on their first flying laps. Leclerc ahead of Hamilton as everybody now has emerged out of the pit lane. Just a reminder, we've already had Q1 and we've lost Esteban Ocon in the Haas, Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillac, Franco Colapinto's Alpine, Perez in the other Cadillac, Stroll and Alonso, the two Aston Martins, down in 21st and 22nd. Get a good comparison here between the two Ferraris. Hamilton, who put it on sprint pole yesterday. Lindblad, fastest of anybody through the first sector. The British rookie in the Racing Bulls really showcasing the speed that that car and that team have been able to pull from their package this year. Great job from them so far.
Yeah, I saw Isaac Hadjar actually complaining a little bit that the Racing Bulls are doing a better job than the Red Bulls, which is the lead team, if you want to look at it that way. But they had the same sponsor fundamentally, and they're funded in the same way by the same group, but they're supposed to be separate teams. They're not supposed to collaborate or exchange information, so obviously Racing Bulls are doing a very good job there.
They certainly are. At the moment though, it is Hadjar with the time to beat, a 1:29.1. Leclerc's going to beat that though with the fastest final sector by a 1/10 of a second. Charles Leclerc to the top of the times and then immediately displaced by Lewis Hamilton, who gets into the 1:28s. But Arvid Lindblad, just with a little snap coming through the penultimate corner, puts his Racing Bulls up into P5 as Kimi Antonelli says, I have no response from the pedal after a bit of a disappointing he hasn't got a lap time on the board actually, has he? Kimi Antonelli out there at the moment, just coming through the first sector, middle sector, but the first sector just seemed to drop off, so maybe some issues there for Antonelli. His teammate Russell goes fastest of anybody through the middle sector. Now through the right-hander of Stowe, runs out wide. Bortoletto pops it up into 7th. Russell with 2 more corners to negotiate. The double right-hander that sees off a lap. Norris out there, half a second up to get himself into the top 10. Russell pops into second, splits the two Ferraris, half a tenth of a second between himself and his old teammate Lewis Hamilton, who tops the times.
Yeah, so it's switched the other way now. The anxiety is all Kimi Antonelli's with no time yet on the board. Is he actually on a lap at all at the moment?
He is now on a lap.
Yeah.
Coming through the final sector. I don't think it's going to be a brilliant lap from him, as he's going to finish the lap and start a proper one now. I think he had an issue in the first sector, backed off massively, and now is going again. So let's see how he fares on this lap around. Gasly's just come across the line for Alpine in 11th. We're going to see what happened to Antonelli here, coming through the first two corners, down towards Village. Into the right-hander, locks up the front right, runs deep, Damon.
I think that might be the wind again. I think the wind direction is catching people out as they're into braking zones. It's just... It's not a constant wind. It just gusts at the moment, and it's quite a strong gust.
The direction's completely turned around, and now it's a tailwind into that corner exactly where Antonelli locked up. So yes, I think you're exactly right, Damon. That's what happened there.
So the wind catching Kimi Antonelli out. He's got time for another run though, as he makes his way towards Maggots and Beckett's now. Hamilton with the fastest lap time here in Q2. Russell half a tenth away. Leclerc 2/10 adrift in third. Then the two Red Bulls. Hadjar ahead of Verstappen. The two Racing Bulls. Lindblad ahead of Lawson. Norris only 8th for McLaren on his first run. Bortoletto 9th for Audi, with Piastri rounding out the top 10. Gasly, Behrman, Sainz, Albon the top 14. Nico Hülkenberg was out there and I think bailed on a lap. Hasn't got one on the board and has now made it back to the pits, leaving himself potentially with only one run at the end. Antonelli now to the line, puts himself in third behind his teammate for the 19-year-old Italian.
So, anxiety over. He's got a time on the board. I don't think he's going to need to put another quicker lap time to stay in the top 10 and get through to Q3 this time, but the people on the bubble, Piastri is currently 11th, and I'm not sure whether he's out or he's in the pits actually. So yeah, it's going to be a few sweaty moments for a few drivers like Oscar, who'd expect to be further up. Gasly maybe could upset things there. You have to say that the Racing Bulls are consistently in there and are top 10 contenders at the moment.
Russell is getting out of his car. He's asked for a spare seat. Not happy, not enjoying comfort in that Mercedes.
Both Mercedes drivers are in the wars at the moment, aren't they? It's neither of them are comfortable, it would appear. Errors, lack of comfort literally in the car for Russell, with having to move his seat. These seats are moulded. It's supposed to fit you like a glove, Damon, isn't it? And don't know whether there's a comfort issue in terms of the fit or whether the seat's loose or something, but watching a replay of Oscar Piastri here, what's he done at the last corner? He's got a bit onto the curb and gone a bit wide and bouncy.
But he's complaining he has absolutely no grip, or zero grip, he said, which is obviously ridiculous because he has got some grip. It's just relative to the driver feel. They feel like they've got not the optimum, and it can be that they just don't get the tyres to come in at the right temperature. You just need these tyres to be out by a tiny fraction, and suddenly they just don't perform to their maximum.
Just under 5.5 minutes left of Q2. Sun shining here at Silverstone. Blue skies, few white puffy clouds. Temperatures high all weekend long so far. Air temperature 25.6 degrees. Track temperature just below 42 degrees, and with an ever-changing wind direction as well, catching out some of these drivers. And a circuit that is always an enjoyable challenge. Max Verstappen round the final corner now, about to go for another run. After the end of the first one, it's Oscar Piastri from the top teams that finds himself in that elimination zone. Will certainly need to go again after having a bit of a clunky end to his first lap. He's at 11th, Gasly's behind, then Behrman, the two Williams cars, Sainz and Albon, and Hülkenberg with no time on the board. His teammate Gabriel Bortoletto is up inside the top 10, and I think Audi will fancy their chances here at getting at least one car into Q3.
Now stand by, because I think this is going to be something of a special lap there by Max Verstappen. It's the first run he's had on in Q2 on fresh rubber, and it definitely looks like he's attacking, using all the road on the exit of Woodcote there and down towards Copse.
Straight line mode activates, then it slams shut as he makes his way through the right-hander of Copse. Now lines it up to thread the needle towards Maggots, Becketts and Chappell. Left, right, then left again before a slightly longer right, trying to get the nose back in on yourself to line the car up nicely for that long hanger straight that sees off the lap with only 4 corners after this. Stowe, the first of them, through the right-hander. Now lines it up for the braking zone of turn 16 at Vale. Flouts that inside curb. Shifts the car over to the right-hand side for the final 2 corners. And across the line for Max Verstappen, he improves overall, but loses time in the final sector. Only enough for 5th fastest. What about Isaac Hadjar? Quicker than Max Verstappen at this stage of the game, as Hadjar, with about 4/100th of a second between them. Hadjar 5th, Verstappen 6th. As the 2 McLarens, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, back out on track. More pressure on Oscar Piastri. Norris only 9th at the end of the first runs and behind the 2 Racing Bulls.
This is what a disaster. Unbelievable.
Max Verstappen saying, what a disaster, unbelievable. So he wasn't happy with that lap. And if we cast our minds back to the beginning of this session, didn't like the feel of his powertrain and engine. So not being comfortable really from the get-go.
Yeah, he's not being terribly specific there.
No, but he lost a lot of time in the final sector. He was actually up, wasn't he, up until the end of the second sector. So normally when he's talking about disaster, Verstappen, it's a balance issue. He's not been happy with the balance of this Red Bull, well, for about 2 years actually, but particularly this year. And it's an ongoing complaint. So that would be my guess as to what's going on there. Because that last sector is obviously Stowe and then the chicane at Club and Vale, and isn't it? So I suspect that's it.
Big lap needed here for the 2 McLarens to give themselves a little bit more comfort. Getting into Q3 right now, only Norris is inside the top 10, but he's up on Hamilton through the first sector. Oscar Piastri up on Bortoleto to get himself into the top 10. Should see both McLarens inside the top 10, but let's see if they can keep it clean. Piastri had a decent first run, but then a mistake in the final few corners, making his way through Maggots and Becketts now, out through Chappell, down the hanger straight. He's a 10th and a half up on the Audi to get inside the top 10. This is the sound of the Australian, 25 years of age, qualified on the front row here last year. Second place, went on to finish in that position. Brakes for Vale at 17. Takes a bit of curb on the right-hand side, shifts the car to the outside, then back to the inside for Piastri. Finds almost 7/10 of a second, sees him up into 7th, but behind the 2 Red Bulls. What about his teammate Lando Norris? Going to be next across the line. It's not as big as an improvement as Piastri. It is still an improvement, but it's only 9th behind Arvid Lindblad's Racing Bulls.
It's going to be a little bit risky, I think, for Lando. I think we've got potentially one of the Bortoleto or Gasly improving unless they've finished their laps.
I think he's got to watch out for Gabby Bortoleto here. Right now, Liam Lawson did improve but stays behind Norris, so that just about helps Lando Norris's case. Charles Leclerc goes to the top of the times. Oliver Behrman's on a decent lap here. Bortoleto had a good first sector. He's not had an amazing middle sector though. Can the Audi do anything? Nico Hülkenberg has also been strong throughout qualifying so far, but it's not had a good session, didn't run in the first part of it, and is not having a brilliant lap right now. 20 seconds on the clock. Sainz comes across the line, 14th fastest for him. Bortoleto down on time in the middle sector. Lando Norris at the moment 9th, Lawson 10th. Bortoleto crosses the line, improves, but just misses out on the top 10. Leclerc quickest, 0.2 of a second faster than Hamilton, who's taken the checkered flag. Kimi Antonelli is 4th and looking to improve his lap time, but that should be okay for Lando Norris. Hülkenberg will come across the line and he cannot pip anyone outside the top 10. What about Pierre Gasly though? A good first sector, a decent middle sector for Pierre Gasly, who's had a consistent run of top 10 starts this year. Can he demote Liam Lawson? No, he can't, but he splits the 2 Audis. The checkered flag is out. No one runs quicker as Antonelli goes to the top of the times. Bortoleto out of Q2 in 11th. Gasly 12th. Hülkenberg 13th. Behrman 14th. But the 2 Williams, Sainz ahead of Albon, a 10th of a second splitting them. 16th.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a statement lap there from Kimi Antonelli. I saw him going through the last few corners. He was properly committed. I think he just needs to find out where the limits are, and he's preparing himself for Q3 and looking extremely strong indeed. And I think it will be difficult for Ferrari to challenge that. But of course, we won't know. It's close enough. You've got Hamilton is 0.3, nearly 0.4 off of Kimi Antonelli's fastest lap. But I'm not sure that we saw the best of what the Ferraris could do in that session. Kimi's lap was towards the end. The track does get better. Time comes to you as more rubber goes down. But nevertheless, Kimi practicing his maximum attack laps there on the last run.
Yeah, hearing Hamilton saying on the radio, I'm losing 0.3 just on deployment. So he thinks he's got more in the tank, and he's about 0.3 adrift of Antonelli. With Ferrari's Leclerc only a 10th adrift. But out goes Gabi Bortoleto, 11th.
You are currently P11.
Sorry. It's on me. The car had more there. Sorry, team.
For Gabi Bortoleto then, he felt he could have been inside the top 10, and he was looking strong in that qualifying session. The Brazilian from Sao Paulo, just 21 years of age. He's finished 11th in the last 3 consecutive races, which is where he'll start the British Grand Prix.
He's 6 tenths quicker than his teammate Nico Hülkenberg. So
I'm not sure. There was something going on with the Audis in that Grand, because Nico Hülkenberg did 1 lap at the end. He didn't go out all session long.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wonder if there was an issue for Hülkenberg there. But you're right, it's a sizable gap, and indeed a sizable gap even to Gasly, who's 12th.
Meanwhile, McLaren are not in a happy place, are they? With Piastri the fastest in 7th at 0.7 behind off the pace that Antonelli set with that final run. They've not been feeling good all weekend, McLaren. The drivers Norris finished 3rd in the sprint, but that was sort of founded on a great first lap from 6th on the grid. It feels like they've fallen back a bit more compared to everybody else in the top 4 this weekend, and there's a bit of grumbling going on because publicly they're being polite, but they've not got the latest spec Mercedes engine in here, which all the other teams have, and publicly they're not complaining about it, but privately they are grumbling a little bit. It's all to do with timing of scheduling and mileage and all the rest of it, but of course one of the reasons they're down on mileage on engines is because the Mercedes engine keeps failing on them. So,
yeah,
they're like, well, why should we suffer for that? But not that that's not a quote. That's just the feeling that I'm sort of getting by osmosis, if you like, in the way that I do sometimes, Damon.
Yeah, I've noticed osmosis. At any rate, I thought that's what plants do. But I seem to remember that from school. But the thing they've got with Mercedes customers is that their Mercedes, I don't think, have been completely feeling that they want to divulge too much to their competitors. Don't forget, it was McLaren who won the Constructors' Championship with their Mercedes engine. So a little bit embarrassing if you're Works Mercedes team to be beaten by your customers. So I think they're probably taking a little bit more of a cautious, you've got the unit, the power unit, but the rest of it, the way you work it and all the software and all the rest of it, I think we're going to let you work that out for yourself and not divulge quite so much of the information that Mercedes have as how to make these cars optimized.
The other thing is that it's in the rules that the customer teams have to have the exact same specification as the factory team. So I'm not quite sure.
What is specification, though? This is where it gets down to...
I think they would say it's a new engine, it's not a new spec.
Yeah.
That's what Mercedes would say, yeah.
So and I think it's nothing to do with so much of the spec of the power unit. It's how it's made to work, and the software and the way that the power is deployed and stored and battery usage. All these things is another realm that has perhaps not been covered by their agreement. So it's a tricky business, Formula One. You have to be very careful and read the small print.
You always read the small print, though, right?
Oh my God! I mean, it's just. Oh my God! No,
that's a good result, Ollie. It's a good result. Yeah, good job, Ollie. I know that's not what you want in your home Grand Prix, but you got the best out of it. Thank you. We'll get better.
Yeah, good job, everyone. I think we've done the right again, which is all we can achieve at this stage.
Yeah, Oliver Bearman there as Haas struggle with pace at the moment. He'll take that, out qualifying his teammate and up in 14th. The better news for Bearman is that he loses 4 penalty points this weekend after his spin on the red flag into the pit lane this time a year ago. So he's currently on 8 points, so he loses 4, which I think he could breathe a bit of a sigh of relief.
Don't you love it when your points come off your licence? Harry, have you got any points? No,
I'm pointless.
I've never had points, believe it or not.
Never?
No.
Surely once.
Points make
Not
prizes.
points.
No?
I'm not saying my record is completely blemish-free, but I've never had
We've
points.
all done an awareness course in our time.
Exactly.
The awareness course is a good way of avoiding points, but we shouldn't be getting into trouble in the first place.
No,
Absolutely, absolutely.
Quite right. We should save any racing for the racetrack.
All accidental, of course. None of it was done on purpose.
No, it's never. Oh, yeah, anyway. No, I don't deliberately go out to break the rules of the road. Just happens by accident.
You cycle everywhere here anyway, don't you?
I have cycled, yeah, and I have actually got a licence to ride my bicycle here at Silverstone. You have to wear a wristband if you've got a bicycle. Can you believe that?
That's quite a privilege, because I'm told it's really hard to get one.
It's really hard to get that. You have to have won the World Championship and the British Grand Prix to get one.
That really is hard. That's a very high bar.
What if I said I had a racing licence? Would they give me one for that?
It might be a start. A bit of a way to go, yeah. No, actually, I don't know what you need to... but you definitely need the blooming wristband to just even ride a bicycle currently, because there's lots of people around.
There's wristbands for everything these days.
There's wristbands for everything. Yeah, I've got like a blooming hippie, don't I?
I've been hearing all sorts of stories about
bangles and all sorts.
Access issues in various places that they shouldn't have access issues and stuff.
Just before we get anyone's upset, I do love hippies. So I'm not disparaging
You're a
hippies.
bit of a hippie at heart yourself, aren't you, Damon?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I think probably that's going a bit far. What is a hippie? Hippie is...
You're trending in that direction, though, surely.
I think...
Mentality-wise.
I know how to relax and chill and all those things.
Q3 started, guys.
Yeah.
12 minutes on the clock.
I was relaxing there.
No one's out on track yet.
That's enough relaxation.
Just going to steer the conversation away to on track.
These guys will not be relaxing in the next 10 minutes, 11, 12 minutes that we have of this queue. So don't forget, this is qualifying for the British Grand Prix, the main event. And
it is.
It's a big deal.
It certainly is. This is crunch time now. The fastest 10 cars remain. It's the battle of the top 10 and the fight for British Grand Prix pole position. Last year in 2025 it went the way of Max Verstappen. The year before, George Russell. Verstappen clinching it in 2023. Carlos Sainz not in the fight this year, but got his first pole here back in 2022. Can we see a British star on pole in the next 11 minutes? Can Lewis Hamilton follow up his heroics from yesterday? What about Lando Norris? McLaren look like they are struggling out there, but can he find anything in the final stages of qualifying? And George Russell in his continued fight with his teammate Kimi Antonelli at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Russell could really do with a good qualifying this afternoon.
Who's your money on, Harry?
Kimi Antonelli. Look, I've got to sell it, right?
You don't get a prize for that. I'm sorry.
Well, no, actually, you know what? Once again, the Ferraris have been flying through this qualifying session so far. So I would not discount a Lewis Hamilton or a Charles Leclerc pole position at this stage of the game. What about you two?
I think it's Kimi's to muck up if he does. I mean, I don't think he will. I think he's showing such incredible composure and confidence in this season. And I think he's out there to show everyone what he's at. And we keep making this kind of slight comparison to Senna. You know, he does have a kind of Senna-ishness about him, doesn't he?
He looks like Senna.
Yeah, I know that's...
I think he's a bit of a cross of Senna and Rossi, personally.
I think that's right. There's definitely a look of Senna about him.
But the confidence and the speed he has is also a real thing. It's a real talent that he has. And if you can be quicker than someone like George Russell consistently, then you really have got something special, because George is definitely not impoverished when it comes to speed. You know, he's Mr. Saturday after all. We're used to seeing him doing something special. Can he do something special here this afternoon?
I think he's going to need to. Yeah. I mean, And the thing with Antonelli is it's all coming so easily to him, or it seems to be. It's just flowing. Every time he gets in the car, he seems like he's the quickest guy on the track. And whereas Russell seems to be having to force it more.
I mean, if he was a racehorse and Mercedes and Toto were the jockey, they'd be holding him back. They're not. They don't have to make him go faster. They're literally saying, okay, just rein it in just a little bit. And he keeps putting in fastest laps when he doesn't need to, and he just wants to go faster, and he's able to do it as well.
43 points at the top of the Drivers' Championship. That's the split between himself and his teammate George Russell. But first flying laps coming your way now. The two McLarens look like they certainly are lagging behind their main competitors, Red Bull, Mercedes and Ferrari at this stage of the game. Oscar Piastri qualified second here last year, but has qualified seventh in the last 3 consecutive races in the build-up to this British Grand Prix. Is the first to pop a lap time in, and it's a 1:29.231 from the Aussie. As Liam Lawson decides to bail out of his soft tyre run and heads to the pit lane. So we'll turn our attention to the other McLaren of Lando Norris, who's next to head through the left-hander of Vale 16 out through Club. Now the final corner, a long right-hander that feeds you out right by the start-finish line. And there's not much splitting the two McLaren drivers, less than a tenth of a second, but it's Piastri at the head of the times, not for long, as Max Verstappen is next to head to the top, but the two Ferraris now flying out there. Hamilton fastest of anybody through the middle sector. His teammate goes half a second clear at the top of the field. Hamilton, though, quick so far. Can he string it together? Yes, he can, and by less than half a tenth of a second, it's Hamilton's turn now at the top of the times. What about the two Red Bulls as we wait for the Mercedes as well? Verstappen already fourth, and again Hadjar quicker by almost 4/10 of a second. Hadjar slots into third, but Antonelli is flying. Fastest of anybody through the first sector. Russell, though, fastest of anybody through the first sector. Antonelli crosses the line first. Russell slots into second, and less than a tenth between the two Mercedes drivers.
That's a pretty good response there from George Russell, and he's not sitting in the garage looking at a huge gap between himself and his teammate. Now he knows it's just within a tenth of a second, but I fully expect Kimi Antonelli to give it the full beans and the maximum attack. He's got one more run left, and can he break into the 27s as Andrew Benson predicted is possible? He's got a bit of a way to go, 3/4 tenths maybe.
You almost forced me into that.
I did, I'm
Damon.
sorry, I pressured you down.
You're like, that doesn't sound fast enough to me.
But, things happen. This is the last run in the qualifying for the British Grand Prix, and I have to say, in my experience, I found some ridiculous amounts of time on my last run to beat Michael Schumacher to pole position, and I don't know where it came from, but it came from somewhere. Perhaps it was the fans, the extra second a lap you get.
Nigel Mansell predicted.
Yeah. If you can clear everyone by a second, then definitely you've got fan power.
Tell you what, though, I just saw a replay on Hamilton's lap, and he made a mistake down at Village, ran quite deep, still finished the lap, but definitely lost a couple of tenths there, and that's how far away he is from provisional pole right now, which is going the way of Antonelli.
And if you talk about psychology, sitting in the garage, even if Lewis has made a mistake, he's still quicker than his teammate, and Hadjar will be sitting there, and Verstappen will be looking at it and go, no, this is not right. Nobody is quicker than me. And now he's got one more run to prove that he's not having an off day.
It's all very Noah's Ark right now. The two Mercedes top the times. Then comes Hamilton, Leclerc for Ferrari, Red Bull with Hadjar and Verstappen, and the McLarens. Piastri ahead of Norris at no times from Racing Bulls. Liam Lawson did go out there and then came in at the end of his lap. Arvid Lindblad electing not to go out there and just do one run at the end of the session. Wouldn't expect the Racing Bulls to really get any higher than 9th and 10th. However, maybe there is an 8th place here for one of the Racing Bulls if they can pick off a struggling McLaren.
Yeah, it is absolutely a Noah's Ark, isn't it? It's the perfect top 10. They're arranged in their team orders. And what does that tell us? It tells us there's a pace that is maximum pace that you can get out of a team or a car on this circuit, and the drivers are maximising that. And but there is a divide between each team, and whether it stays like that after the final run is unlikely, but it'd be interesting if it was.
I think it tells us one more thing as well. It tells us that Max Verstappen's not happy with his car. because when he is happy with his car, his teammate is usually not either ahead of him or alongside him on the same row.
Yeah, he might not be happy, but what does he do about it?
Well, he's probably a bit stuck at this point.
Not what you want to be.
But then rather like you, Damon, Max can unlock unknown speed at times, can't he?
But has he got the fans behind him? Can he get a second out of the British fans? I don't know.
I'm sure I've seen a few Max Verstappen fans here at Silverstone.
If he's in the A1 ring, in the Red Bull ring, I should say, in Austria, then of course he's on home ground for Red Bull. But I don't have any doubt that Max Verstappen is going to pull out a magnificent lap in this session, because he does not give up. But what if this was the grid? You'd have to say we've got a great setup for a championship showdown race between the real contenders for the championship at the moment, Antonelli, Russell and Hamilton. So that would be a good grid to have, but we don't know. It's not going to stay like that.
And from what we saw earlier on in the day with the sprint race, it doesn't mean a lot. If you have a bad qualifying, you are very much able to overtake here at Silverstone circuit and improve your position. But of course, you give yourself a nice advantage the higher up the grid you are, as the clock ticks down under 3 minutes. And now the cars head out on track. Here's Antonelli.
Why am I first? We are putting on to the latest lead. Just cruise.
Kimi Antonelli not happy to be out there as the first car on track, wanting to get the latest conditions. And perhaps we know some teams have an order. One weekend, one driver gets to go out first, the other one gets to go out first the following weekend. That's all to do with the track rubbering in the best track conditions later on in the session.
Would you say the latest lead? Does that mean that he's going to get a time in and then try and get another one?
I just think he wanted different track position out on the circuit.
Yeah, he wanted to go out. He is the lead car on the circuit, and typically the track does improve. And
latest leave doesn't make sense in that context. It's clearly not the latest leave, because there's a whole load of cars behind him.
Unless he gets time for an extra lap.
Yeah, I would say where is he at the moment on the lap?
I thought he said, why am I the first to leave?
Yeah,
he did, but then Bono said it was the latest leave, which is confusing, didn't he, Damon?
Yeah.
So I don't think he's got time for 2 laps here. There's only 1 minute 42 seconds left, and he's not even completed his out lap yet. So
no, he's going to have time for 1 lap. But
it will be 1 lap for our 10 drivers, who are all out on the circuit now. Kimi Antonelli heads down to turn 1, the right-hander at Abbey. The young Italian searching for another pole position this season, a 5th pole position. His teammate, though, too, also searching for that number 5. Can anybody take it away from them? Can Lewis Hamilton put a perfect lap together and find an 8th British Grand Prix pole? And what about Lando Norris, struggling at the McLaren at the moment? He find any extra tenths of a second. The British rookie Arvid Lindblad currently ahead of his teammate Liam Lawson in the times. The 2 Racing Bulls best of the rest right now, leaving it with 1 lap in the game. Antonelli now comes through the right-hander at Copse.
Fully loaded. You can see the way that the tyres are sort of folding around underneath the car, with the load that goes through these cars and the tyres when they've got new tyres and the extra grip. And he's fully committed. You see a little puff of smoke as he uses the curb on the exit of Chapel and going down the Hangar Straight now. And Kimi Antonelli is the fastest, but then he was the first on track, so that may not stand, but it all looks pretty clean and committed so far for this last run for Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah, he's up on his own first time at the moment as we have 10 seconds left to run. Antonelli now with 1 corner away, already on provisional pole, looking to try and reinforce that, crosses the line, improves his time by almost 0.3 of a second. Can anyone match him? Russell through the first sector at the moment, can't pip his teammate Antonelli. Norris takes the flag next, improves, but only 6-7 of a second away. Charles Leclerc's out on the circuit. Lindblad, Piastri all still finding time. Lewis Hamilton as well. We'll watch him setting the timing sectors alight through the first sector. Not had the best start to the middle sector though. The next car to the line will be Oscar Piastri's McLaren. 8th It's now 7th. He gets out-qualified by teammate Norris. Liam Lawson in the Racing Bulls round the final corner. Out-qualified by teammate Arvid Lindblad, the British rookie 9th, ahead of Lawson. Can George Russell take it to his teammate? No, he can't. 3.5 tenths of a second between them, but Verstappen's going well. He moves up a position. It's only 7th though, as he loses a huge chunk of time in the final sector. Leclerc's quickest of anyone through the first sector, splits the two Mercedes. Leclerc's up to 2nd. Hamilton down on time in the middle, down on time in the final sector. Out-qualified by his teammate. It's 3rd for Hamilton. It's 5th for Hadjar. It's pole for Kimi Antonelli. Ahead of the British Grand Prix, the championship leader outfoxes them all, and the 19-year-old Italian will have the best view in the house. Antonelli on pole for the British Grand Prix.
Yes, Kimi. That's pole man.
Yes, come on! Woo!
Good effort, man.
Yes, man! Woo!
Nice work. That was a very tidy lap.
Very tidy lap, Damon, once again from Kimi Antonelli.
He's able to deliver, isn't he? He's able, you put him on the hot spot and you say, look, you've got one more go at this. And he doesn't muck it up. He does it perfectly, and he found more time. He's one of the few drivers actually to improve his time in that session. I think Lando improved. Who else? Charles Leclerc improved a little bit, but they've split. The Ferraris have split up the Mercedes pair, with Russell unable to find an answer to his teammate Kimi Antonelli's pace. What an astonishing young man this is, Kimi Antonelli. He's just done it again and put himself in a great position. It's going to be difficult for George, but can Ferrari do anything tomorrow? Not Charles Leclerc and Kimi Antonelli on the front row. Ferrari and Mercedes is going to be a very exciting first few corners.
A 5th pole of the season, a 5th career pole for Kimi Antonelli, who will line up on pole alongside Charles Leclerc in 2nd. Good run from the Monegasque, and that's his best ever qualifying at the British Grand Prix, as Antonelli steps out of his car, waves to the fans, heads over to be weighed by the FIA. Charles Leclerc now peels in to the Parc Fermé area and will rise out of his Ferrari car. Indeed, for Charles Leclerc, qualified 2nd in Austria. It's back-to-back front row starts for the Monegasque, and Lewis Hamilton, who qualified 3rd at the Austrian Grand Prix a week ago, is 3rd again at the British Grand Prix, having put it on pole for the sprint race earlier on today. Couldn't quite follow up that feat, but a good chance for Ferrari here to attack Antonelli in the early stages of the Grand Prix tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's so tight, isn't it? But it's great that we've got challengers. We haven't got one team dominating, and George is going over to congratulate Kimi Antonelli, but of course he'll be feeling a little bit gutted that he's not able to get his other Mercedes onto the front row and stop the Ferraris from attacking and potentially spoiling this Mercedes party tomorrow.
4 Brits, all in the top 10. Lewis Hamilton 3rd, George Russell 4th, Lando Norris 6th, and Arvid Lindblad, well, he might actually be the happiest of them all. He's 9th, ahead of his teammate Liam Lawson, the British driver down at Racing Bulls, who out-qualifies Lawson for only the 3rd time this year. So a good run from the Racing Bulls once again.
Yeah, definitely is showing that he's got some special talent. I would say he's, this year he's really impressed, and Liam Lawson is fighting back to keep him behind him, but he didn't manage to do it this time. But they are a strong pair, those two, in that Racing Bulls. It is ever improving throughout this season.
Yeah, quite a big gap between them actually, 4 tenths of a second. So I wonder if Lawson had an issue on his run. But the hugs for all round for Kimi Antonelli as his Mercedes mechanics head over to take his Mercedes machinery away. He glugs a bottle of water. Lewis Hamilton just behind takes his helmet off and decompresses after qualifying in 3rd. Behind the top 3, Russell 4th, Hadjar 5th, Norris, then Verstappen, who's not happy in his Red Bull, Piastri 8th, Lindblad and Lawson the top 10, Bortoletto 11th, Gasly, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Sainz the top 15. Albon 16th ahead of Esteban Ocon. Bottas 17th. Ocon 17th, Bottas 18th. Then Colapinto, Perez, Stroll and Alonso. The 22 drivers in the field, and they will line up that way ahead of 52 laps of the British Grand Prix tomorrow, which you can hear on BBC Radio 5 Live. Lights out from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's hear from our top three. They're speaking with Jolyon Palmer.
Well, down here in Parc Ferme with two of your top three, and Lewis Hamilton just joining us to make one Brit in the top three, but it's Kimi Antonelli on pole position. Kimi, you said at the end, why were we going out first? Well, hey, it didn't matter. That was a great lap.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit stressed because I never really like going first for the last run, but yeah, the last lap was very tidy. I have to be honest, it came all together. It was very tricky with the wind because it was very gusty, unpredictable. But yeah, we built our way through qualifying, and yeah, to bring the pole home is very satisfying.
Talk me through the changes that you made between the sprint and qualifying, and the way that you built into that session as well, because it is difficult conditions. You obviously won the sprint. Did you change the car? Were you fine-tuning things?
No, we didn't change the car at all. It was just about, you know, with differential, brake migration, driving, you know, we worked around it, and we managed to find a good setting that helped me to progress through qualifying.
Perfect finesse. Well done, Kimi.
Thank you.
Charles Leclerc, congratulations. That was a much more Charles Leclerc performance in qualifying from the very first laps. You've got to be pleased to be back here.
Yes, I'm pleased. I mean, it's been a few tough races where the feeling was not quite right, where I was struggling to put everything together. On the Sundays, we've had things that sometimes we couldn't score points. So to be back with a good feeling, there's been so much work behind the scene to get back that feeling inside the car. But today is probably the first time where I had it back. So that is a good thing, but at the same time, I know how much I've struggled to be consistent recently. So it's only the beginning, but it's a good step in the right direction.
We just heard from Kimi saying minor details and tweaks for the Mercedes. For you, I'm guessing there was bigger changes to get you more comfortable. Did you feel it straight away then?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm obviously trying to look a bit of everything because I was losing quite a bit of time. I just didn't have much pace recently, so you've got to look at every single thing you do, whether it's driving style, whether it's everything really. So we've worked, I think, really well, and yeah, I'm happy with that P2. Obviously, I wish I was on pole, but Kimi did an incredible lap, and he deserves it.
Well, congratulations. It's still a front row for tomorrow.
Thank you.
And Lewis, huge cheers all the way around for you today. Third place, you obviously had the high of sprint qualifying yesterday, but are you satisfied still to be starting in the top three at Silverstone?
Am I satisfied?
Yeah, you're in the top three.
I'm P3, but I'm happy to be up here. Both of these guys did a great job today. Charles obviously been making good improvements, and yeah, we just didn't have the pace, unfortunately, of the Mercedes. It's been kind of a thing for a while, but we're slowly closing the gap, and to have both of us up here is great for the team.
And let's talk about the race then, because obviously you were led earlier on. Kimi got past. Have you got a chance, maybe with your teammate there, to work together and put more pressure on Mercedes?
I mean, it's definitely great to have both of us here, because that means hopefully, I mean, whether or not we can fully keep up with Kimi, we'll see tomorrow, but hopefully we can maybe play with the strategy and work as a team to try to topple them. We'll do our best for sure.
All right, well done today, Lewis. Anyway, there's a huge amount of people here, record crowd, hoping that you get number 10 at Silverstone. Kimi, whilst the Ferrari duo go away, let's talk to you about the race tomorrow then. Are you worried about these two? You obviously dealt with Lewis in the sprint, but they're going to be trying to make your life a little bit harder tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, for sure it's not going to be easy. You know, I've got two Ferrari behind me, and for sure they're going to work together, but their pace is good, but ours was strong in the sprint race. So yeah, hopefully we can keep that tomorrow, and yeah, hopefully we can do a good race.
Well, it's been a very good weekend for you so far. Good luck tomorrow. Well done, Kimi Antonelli.
Thank you so much.
Well, there are your top three ahead of the British Grand Prix. Kimi Antonelli starts on pole for Mercedes. Charles Leclerc alongside for Ferrari, with Lewis Hamilton in third. George Russell fourth for Mercedes. Lando Norris will start sixth for McLaren. And Arvid Lindblad for Racing Bulls in 9th. Could be a really intriguing race tomorrow. Strategy will be key, particularly with that energy management, but I think we could be in for a bit of chaos and plenty of overtaking across those 52 laps. Join us for it. We'll be on 5 Live from 3 o'clock, lights out for the British Grand Prix. We shall see you then. This has been an IMG production for BBC Radio 5 Live.